All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about the history of hemp, just a short history, because if you were to listen to, dare I take a shot at mainstream media, you would think that hemp had always been this bad thing. But the fact of the matter is that 100 years ago, it was a typical product that was grown, or produce that was grown in the farms. In fact, there was a law in some states that you had to have hemp growing, and they used it for rope, they used it for clothing, they used it for all sorts of different things. So I'm going to turn this part over to Martin. Let's talk a little bit more about the history of hemp.
Indeed, hemp has been with us for thousands of years. In fact, it has supported several cultures. It has been so important, Scott mentioned it, for cloth. In fact, there would be no America if it were not for hemp, because the sailcloth was made of hemp. And so were the ropes that heaved or hauled the sails up on the masts. And this whole situation with hemp bad evolved over two things. One was the reefer madness. There was no such thing as reefer madness. Nobody ever got mad smoking dope. What they really had was a little bit of relaxation. And yes, there is an issue, let's get it on the table. There is an issue with getting too much hemp in a developing brain. So until about age 18, it is not a great idea to smoke this stuff heavily. But the history of hemp, in about 1930s, two big industrialists in the United States, one that owned the patent to nylon, and the other one that owned a lot of newsprint. Well, Mr. Hearst owned a lot of forests, and he wanted to not have hemp competing with him for the bulk fiber matter. So he was really interested in having it banned. And Mr. Nylon, I'm trying to think of his name. I think it's not coming to me. I'll come up with it in a moment. He wanted to promote nylon rope, not hemp rope. And so, of course, big money. You all know that we have the best government money can buy. Even then, they were able to buy influence and cause it to legislate that hemp cannot be sold. It must be banned. It's bad, bad, bad for you. And that's what we got. After the Second World War, the hemp disappeared from the medical books. It disappeared from the industrial resource books, and all of a sudden it became this big bad thing. And to this day, people believe that marijuana is the gateway drug to hard drugs. There is no evidence for it, but it's always quoted as, yeah, you have to keep it banned because it's leading to horrible things.
Right. And I just want to say one thing too, and we've heard about cannabis, we've heard about marijuana, we've heard about hemp. And hemp is the English word, and
marijuana is the Spanish word, and cannabis is the Latin word for the same plant.
The same plant. And of course, there are different varieties of plants, just like you go corn, there's a sweet corn, and there's a salt, not
peach and cream or something.
Cream, and there's different. You go to the store, and there's a whole bunch of different apples. So I mean, there's different plants, and we're going to be talking about that. And in fact, in our next lecture, we're going to be getting right into hemp oil or marijuana oil or cannabis oil. It really is pretty much all the same. So we'll see you in the next lecture.